I wanted to give you a real-time tool, the most helpful tool, in fact, I've ever found to help me when I'm feeling chaotic, overwhelmed, and anxious. And I'm so worried about the other person. This isn't healthy self-sacrifice. This is a form of self-erasure and even self-harm. Anxiety, overwhelm, grief, stress. These things don't mean you're failing. These are invitations to connect more lovingly to this beautiful soul God has made. Hey everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of The Best of You. I'm so glad you're here with me this week. This is our last episode before Thanksgiving, so we're going to take next week, Thanksgiving, off. And I wanted to record a sort of special episode for you. I wanted to give you a real-time tool, the most helpful tool, in fact, I've ever found to help me when I'm feeling chaotic, overwhelmed, and anxious. In fact, this last week, I found myself exactly in that place, completely tied up in knots. In this case, it was over all things conflict. I hate conflict with anyone. Now, I've done a lot of work around trying to be clear, trying to communicate, as well as around healthy boundaries. I teach this stuff all the time, and yet, even after all that work, there's still a deeply feeling, deeply empathetic part of my soul that resists conflict at all costs. Even when the disagreement is small, even when it's something as simple as working through a difference of opinion in a respectful way, my insides can go absolutely haywire. And here's the twist. So often, before I even realize what I feel, what I think, what I need, I've already imagined exactly what I think the other person must be feeling, right? It's like I'm carrying both of our emotions at once. I'm carrying everything the other person is going through right alongside and sometimes even before what I'm trying to work through. It's a familiar cocktail, right? I write about this in The Best of You, right? It's a mix of my own personality style. I'm highly sensitive. I'm highly empathetic. My own childhood conditioning and church messages that have told me to always think of others first. These are not bad qualities, and I'm grateful that I have them. But when I really need to have the hard conversations, these qualities can get the best of me. That drive to keep the peace, to make everyone else okay, that's the place where a codependent part of me takes root in my life and starts spinning all these catastrophizing and worst case scenarios where I'm worried more about the other person, even though I'm not doing anything wrong. And I'm so worried about the other person that I start risking doing harm to myself. Right? This isn't healthy self-sacrifice. This is a form of self-erasure and even self-harm. And even now, it can still creep up on me. When I'm tangled up like that inside, it tends to show up as anxiety. My heart starts racing. I feel a rush of adrenaline. My whole nervous system goes into high alert. It's hard to sleep, and it can take a full day, sometimes two, for everything to begin to settle down. And then after I finally say the hard thing and speak up, or even just set a very gentle boundary, another wave will hit, a wave of guilt, a wave of self-doubt, that feeling of, did I do something wrong, that really can still show up in my mind. It's like my body goes through the conflict twice, once before I speak and once after. I'm guessing many of you know exactly what that feels like. You wrestle and wrestle with whether to say the hard thing, whether to pull back, whether to say no, whether to show up, whether to not show up. And then when you finally make the decision, there's a backlash. Almost like your internal system can't believe you actually stood up for yourself, right? And you start worrying about all the implications. This is where my own inner work has been life-changing. I can tell myself all the truths that I know. I can use logic on myself. I can analyze the situation. I can even talk to a friend who reminds me of what's real. And all of those things are important. But what has helped me the most in these situations, the only thing that actually calms my soul and restores peace to my body, is when I turn inward and acknowledge the part of my soul that's in distress, when I connect with this part of me, like a person in my life in need of care, when I recognize this part of me is as deserving of my empathy and of my care as everyone else out there. If you've ever found yourself, like me, wide awake at night, replaying a conversation or caught in that loop of what ifs, you're not alone. It's so deeply human. Anxiety is a part of being human. Overwhelm is a part of being human. It happens to all of us. It's one of the ways our souls signal that something inside is seeking safety, connection, or care, right? Where we can extend that same sort of empathy, that same sort of compassion to an inner part of our souls that we're extending to other people out there. In different seasons, this kind of anxiety can wear many faces. Sometimes it hides behind perfectionism, right? You'll find yourself whispering, if I could just get it right, maybe then I could relax. Or it shows up as chronic people pleasing. If everyone else is happy, then I'll be okay. For some of you, like me, it shows up from a fear of conflict. If I stay quiet, maybe I'll stay safe. And for many of us today, it's triggered even by social media and technology, right? The endless scroll that keeps us looped in a toxic, anxious place in our minds. Over the past few episodes, we've talked about each of these topics. What happens when other people push your buttons? We've talked about that with Dr. Stuart Ablon. We've talked about anxious habits like doom scrolling with Dr. Bethany Teachman. And I shared with you some of my own thoughts on comparison. Today, I want to offer you something different. I want to give you a tool, a way to respond to anxiety in real time. Whether you're noticing that inner tension, that inner chaos as a result of other people's toxic strategies, or maybe just their well-intentioned needs or demands on your time. Maybe it's your own propensity to compare, a fear of conflict, worry about your own children, or worry about the headlines. Whatever it is, if you're able, I want you to walk through this reflection with me. Now, it means you'll need to be in a quiet space, so hopefully you can close your eyes. So if you're driving in a car, go ahead and listen and attune to what I'm saying, but keep your eyes on the road. But if you can, find a safe place where you can close your eyes and join me in this exercise. This isn't about fixing or suppressing or analyzing, right, your anxiety. It's about learning to notice what's happening inside of you with compassion and inviting God into those anxious spaces in your soul. Because that's what I believe mindfulness is. It's a sacred noticing. It's deeply tied to our spiritual formation. It's slowing down long enough to observe what's happening within you, not to judge it, but to be present to it and to invite God's presence to be with you too. We're going to talk more about mindfulness after the holidays. Again, I think it's such a helpful type of awareness to understand, especially as we go into this holiday season. But when you integrate it with a parts-based, God-centered approach, something incredible happens. We realize we can notice the anxious, tied up in knots, turned inside out, scared parts of our souls, not as all of who we are, but as one part of us that's working overtime to make us safe. And we remember that we don't face these things alone. God is with us right here in the middle of whatever it is we're going through. This show is brought to you by BetterHelp. As the days get shorter and the light fades a little earlier, it's easy to feel the weight of the season. I've been reminding myself lately to reach out, to check in on friends I haven't seen in a while, or to send that quick text that says, hey, you've been on my mind. Shorter days don't have to feel dismal. Staying connected, whether it's calling a friend, grabbing coffee, or even writing a note, reminds us that we're not alone. And that same courage it takes to reach out to someone you care about, it's the same kind of courage it can take to reach out for therapy. And once you do, you often wonder, why didn't I do this sooner? That's where BetterHelp can help. They'll match you with a licensed therapist based on your needs and preferences, and you can switch therapists at any time. With over 30,000 licensed professionals and a 4.9 out of 5 average rating, it's one of the most trusted online therapy platforms in the world. This month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself, BetterHelp makes it easier to take that first step. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/bestofyou. That's betterhelp.com/bestofyou. When I think about the holidays, one of my favorite moments is curling up under a blanket with my family, the tree lights glowing, everyone slowing down for just a little while. And you know how there's always that one person who's impossible to shop for? For me, that's my parents. I mean, they have everything. They don't need anything. But last year, I gave them the Cozy Earth bamboo long sleeve pajamas, and it instantly became their favorite gift, the one they wear all year long. There's just something about Cozy Earth. Their bamboo fabric is unbelievably soft, breathable, and luxurious. It makes home feel like a sanctuary. It's truly the gift of slowing down and feeling cozy together long after the holidays are over. And here's the best part. They make it risk-free with a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. But trust me, you won't want to return them. Black Friday has come early at Cozy Earth. Right now, you can stack my code BESTOFYOU on top of their site-wide sale, giving you up to 40% off in savings. These deals won't last, so start your holiday shopping today. And if you get a post-purchase survey, be sure to mention you heard about Cozy Earth right here. Wrap the ones you love in luxury with Cozy Earth. So let's get to it. The next 10 to 12 minutes, I'm going to walk you through a guided reflection, right? You can follow right along with me in real time. You can hit the pause button on wherever you're watching, whether you're listening or watching. If you want more time with each one of these prompts I'm going to give you, ideally, you can get to a place where you can close your eyes and really focus on what's happening inside your own soul. But like I said, if you're driving or walking, you can listen and you will still get a lot of insight as you listen and walk through these prompts with me. Okay, so find that safe place wherever you can tune in to your own soul. Take a slow, deep breath in and exhale. Let your shoulders soften. Let your body settle in wherever you are. And gently turn your attention inside your own soul. This is your space to attune to the parts of your own soul in need of care. So often your attention is outward, caring for others, caring for your kids, caring for your family, caring for the people with whom you work, right? This is your time to care for your own soul in that same way. I want you to bring to mind a situation that has stirred up stress or anxiety or overwhelm recently. It doesn't have to be the biggest one, just something mild or moderate that has caused you some distress. Maybe it's an upcoming meeting that you have, or one that you had last week. Maybe it's a conversation you've been dreading, or one that didn't go so well. Maybe it's something you saw on social media that stung or hurt or caused a mental loop. Maybe you noticed your friends were getting together and didn't include you. As you call to mind that situation, see if you can locate where that anxiety or stress or tension lives in your body. Is it in your chest, your stomach, your throat? Is it up in your mind? You don't have to change or fix it. Just notice it. Now, as you notice this feeling, imagine that it belongs to a part of you, a younger, hardworking part of your soul that carries anxiety on your behalf. This anxious or overwhelmed part of you has likely been with you for a long time. You might even picture it as a younger version of yourself, tugging at your sleeve, saying, "Please pay attention. I need you." Take a moment and notice that part of your soul. How old is she? What does she look like? Let her know you see her, that you're with her, that you recognize she's there. And notice how this part of you responds to your presence. Is there relief? Resistance? Tears? Whatever you notice, just stay with this place in your soul that needs your care. As you're connecting with this part of your soul, ask yourself this question. What are you afraid would happen if this part of you didn't work so hard to keep you on alert? This part of you is there for a reason. She's holding all that anxious energy to try to help. What does she fear would happen if she stepped back or softened just a little bit? Listen for whatever comes, whatever you notice. Maybe this part of you is afraid you'll be rejected. Maybe it fears you'll fail. Maybe it's terrified you'll lose control, or that someone will be hurt or disappointed. You don't have to solve anything. Just notice the fear behind all this anxious energy. Listen to this part of your own soul as if you were listening to a good friend. Now, imagine yourself offering a few simple words of compassion to this young part of your own soul. Thank you for working so hard on my behalf. Notice what happens inside as you honor this hardworking part of your soul, the one working so hard to try to keep you safe. And now I want you to imagine inviting God into this space in your soul where you are connecting with this anxious part of you. Maybe you picture the warmth of God's love, a steady presence, God's hand on your shoulder, or the face of Jesus full of kindness right there with you and this anxious part of you, not trying to fix you, just with you, present to you, connected to you. You might simply sense the presence of love. Invite God to be near this anxious part of you. And notice how this part of you responds to God's presence. Is this part of you open to God's presence, or does it hesitate? If you notice any reluctance or hesitance, that's okay. Some parts of us haven't yet learned to fully put our trust in God. It's great to become aware of that. And if you notice that, ask the part of you what it's afraid might happen if God were to come closer. Sometimes parts of us fear God's presence or don't trust that God will accept us as we are. Remember, God is never in a hurry. God's presence is patient and tender and kind. As you imagine what it's like to have God draw near, notice what this anxious part needs from God. Maybe it needs reassurance. You're not alone in this. Maybe it needs rest to lay down the heavy burdens this part of you has been carrying. Maybe it needs to know it's not responsible for holding everything together, that this part of you can let the ceiling fall. Just notice what reassurances this part of you needs. You might picture God speaking gently to this anxious part of you. My beloved child, I see how hard you're working. You don't have to do this alone. You are safe in my care. Let those words wash over this anxious place within your soul. Let them sink deep into this place where anxiety lives within your body. Now, take another deep breath and notice what it feels like for this anxious part of you to be seen, not only by you, but by God. Is there any small shift you notice? Any sense of peace or release, or even a little more space to breathe? Again, you're not trying to make anything happen. You're noticing what happens when you connect to this part of yourself with kindness, with care, and with compassion. Just rest a few more moments in this place of connection, where you're with yourself and with the God who loves every part of you. Ask God to help you remember to connect with this anxious part of you with compassion, to help you care for this part of your own soul gently, the way you care for so many other people. When you're ready, slowly bring your awareness back to the room. This practice of noticing what's happening inside of you is an evidence-based form of mindfulness. It's also crucial not only to your mental health, as we'll learn in upcoming episodes, but also to our spiritual health. It's a way of creating space for God to meet you right where you're hurting and relate to your inner world with the same sort of compassion with which we so often are relating to the other people in our lives. In psychology, you might say this work helps you shift from cognitive awareness, right, from all this mind-head work that we do from thinking about our emotions, right? We're always thinking about things, analyzing, thinking, to an embodied awareness where we're actually present with what's happening inside our own souls, right? It's the difference between analyzing a friend and being with a friend who's hurting. So different. And that's what we want from other people. So often we just want their presence with us more than we need their words of advice or their analysis, right? As we just need their love, their steady presence with us, saying, I see that you're anxious and I'm here with you. This is what we're doing with this part of our souls. Instead of fixing and analyzing, we're saying, I get it. You're anxious. You're scared, and I'm here with you. And you're no longer alone. You know how the holidays can be equal parts magical and stressful? Last year, I found myself waking up with jaw tension from clenching my teeth at night. Apparently, it's a pretty common response to stress. Turns out nearly 30% of U.S. adults grind or clench their teeth while they sleep. That's why I use Remy night guards. They're custom-made, clinically tested to protect against teeth grinding and also relieve jaw tension and facial strain, which means I actually sleep better. What I love most is that Remy gives you the same professional quality and comfort as a night guard from the dentist, but at 80% less cost. And you can even use your HSA or FSA at checkout. Here's how it works. You get an impression kit delivered right to your door, follow their simple step-by-step instructions, send it back, and Remy crafts and ships your custom-fit night guard straight to you. It's easy and super convenient. And for the holiday season, Remy is gifting their customers with their 2-in-1 foam that both cleans your night guard and whitens your teeth for free when you order a night guard between now and December 24th. Go to shopremy.com/bestofyou and use code bestofyou to receive 55% off your new night guard plus a free foam gift. That's shopremi.com/bestofyou for 55% off a night guard plus a free gift using code bestofyou. Thank you, Remy, for sponsoring this episode. Americans spend about 90% of their time indoors, and here's the surprising part. Indoor air can actually be up to 100 times more polluted than outdoor air. If you or someone in your home struggles with allergies, asthma, or just that heavy, stuffy feeling, this is something you want to pay attention to. That's why I love Air Doctor. It's the award-winning air purifier that removes 99.99% of dangerous contaminants, things like allergens, viruses, smoke, gases, mold spores, and more. In fact, Air Doctor was voted Best Air Purifier by Newsweek, and 98% of customers say their home's air feels cleaner, safer, and healthier. What makes Air Doctor different is that it captures particles 100 times smaller than what a standard HEPA filter can trap. It's working on the things you can't see, but definitely don't want to breathe. So if you've been thinking about upgrading the air in your home, now is the time. Head to airdoctorpro.com and use promo code BESTOFYOU to get up to $300 off today. Air Doctor comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee plus a 3-year warranty and $84 value free. Get this exclusive podcast-only offer now at airdoctorpro.com, airdoctorpro.com, using promo code BESTOFYOU. This is an evidence-based practice in psychology, but scripture talks about this same kind of awareness using the language of the soul. I love this. In both Hebrew and Greek, the word for soul, nephesh in Hebrew, or psyche in Greek, points to the whole living self, the place where our mind, our body, and our spirit intersect. When the psalmist says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul," he's not talking about abstract thoughts about God, nor is he only talking about emotion. He's talking about his whole being, his breath, his emotions, his mind, his longings, all turning toward God in connection, right? It's whole being, whole soul, whole body connection with God. So you might think of this practice as connecting with God from your soul instead of just your head. You're connecting with God with all of who you are. So often, even when it's well-intended, prayer can keep us in our heads. We come to God with words, ideas, or requests. Sometimes we even come to God with analysis, and there's nothing wrong with that kind of prayer. But this is a different kind of prayer, a whole body connectedness, where our whole being enters into the presence of God. God meets us in the places that are still hurting, that haven't been fixed, that don't want analysis, that don't need more advice, that don't need more solutions, that just need loving presence. Analysis and insight and head knowledge are great, but they only take us so far. Soul-based connection is different. It's slowing down long enough to bring your whole self, your thoughts, your emotions, your body, your nervous system into God's presence. It's not about saying the right words. It's about making space for God to meet you in what's real, in what's happening right now. When you connect with God from your whole soul, you move from talking about God or even talking at God to being with God. You begin to experience what the psalmist describes when they say, "Be still and know that I am God," right? That kind of knowing doesn't come from your head. It comes from that deep inner place where your spirit and God's spirit meet in perfect connection in the way that we were meant to walk with God, in the way that we were created to walk with God in the beginning, where connection came easy before things got broken. You get a glimpse of what that deep walking with, being with God, soul to soul, really feels like. And God's presence brings that calm, not just to your mind, but to your entire being. And maybe your problems don't get solved in that moment, right? But you get a glimpse of what that connection feels like, the kind of connection, that kind of partnership with God for which we were created. It's a glimpse not only of the beginning in Eden, but a glimpse of where we're headed again, a glimpse of heaven, where we walk in harmony with God no matter what we're feeling. God loves to bring his loving presence to be with us. When you learn to attune to the anxious, overwhelmed places in your soul, not just from your head, but from your whole being, you start to experience the kind of peace Jesus showed us, the kind of peace Paul talked about, the peace that doesn't depend on our circumstances, but that comes from God's loving presence with you through all things, right? It's not about controlling your thoughts or pushing your anxiety away, nor is it about forcing yourself into better patterns or new habits or showing up differently. Those things will come, but they flow out of a soul that is anchored in God's loving presence. You learn to be with what is real, and you learn to trust that God is with you right here, right now, no matter what you're going through. That's why this practice matters. You're not trying to make anxiety or stress or overwhelm disappear as if we could on this side of heaven. You're learning to meet it differently. You're creating space for love to enter the very place where fear lives inside your soul. Anxiety, my friends, my listeners, my watchers, my fellow soul menders. As we consider this upcoming holiday season, remember this: anxiety, overwhelm, grief, stress. These things don't mean you're failing. These are invitations to connect more lovingly to this beautiful soul God has made. It doesn't mean you're failing. It means there's a part of you longing for safety and connection. Over time, as you tend to these parts of your soul, you'll begin to notice a subtle shift. You'll notice less fear, less anxiety, less reactivity, more grounded presence. And when the anxiety shows up again, as it surely will, you'll know what to do. You can pause, you can breathe, and you can say, "I see you here, old friend. You're welcome here. God is with us here too." This is the beginning of change. It's not the absence of anxiety, but the presence of love in the middle of it. The goal isn't to get rid of the anxiety. The goal is to change your relationship to it. That's what this practice helps you do. You learn to meet anxiety and overwhelm and stress, not with fear or shame or more criticism, but with compassion and the power of God's loving presence. As you move through these next few weeks, I hope you'll return to this practice whenever you notice anxiety or fear or overwhelm start to rise. You can return to this exercise and we'll walk through it together. I know I'll be doing it multiple times. Offer yourself compassionate connection. Invite God's presence in, no matter what you're feeling. Because when you learn to bring love to these anxious places inside of you, anxiety and overwhelm lose their power in your soul. You begin to live from a steadier, more connected, more loving place from within your soul where you find God dwelling within you. Until next time, be gentle with yourself and remember, peace begins right here in these anxious moments. Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Best of You. Be sure to check out the show notes for any resources and links mentioned in the show. You can find those on my website at dralisoncook.com. That's Alison with one L, cook.com. Before you forget, I hope you'll follow the show now so that you don't miss an episode. And I'd love it if you'd go ahead and leave a review. It helps so much to get the word out. I look forward to seeing you back here next Thursday. And remember, as you become the best of who you are, you honor God, you heal others, and you stay true to your God-given self.